Call the meeting to order at 5:29.
All right.
And appoint Christine Hazard to the position of the Executive Director effective January 1st, 2020.
So we will need a motion.
I so move.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, Donna.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Hands up for the camera.
All right,
No opposed, no abstentions. Great.
good.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great.
I'm practicing taking my notes, so I was paying attention. Yeah.
Well, I figure if you can pull off a surprise party for
Yeah.
Miss Hart, your executive skills are demonstrated beautifully.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, so as the board secretary, I will do the election of officers.
Thank you.
And we will start with the board chair. Is there a nomination for chair of the board?
Jen, would you like to do that?
Yes,
Okay,
it would be an honor.
Great. I'll nominate Janet
all right.
for chair.
And second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of Janet continuing, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
All right.
If I don't believe in myself, I have to vote for myself too.
Yeah, you did. Now, the board vice chair, I should tell you that Tom Murray has been the chair. He's not with us tonight. I haven't heard anything about his desires, so I just would put that out there. So the position of board vice chair is on the table.
Well, he certainly has been a good support. I know when I have not been able to do signing off, he has stepped up to do that. It has traditionally been longevity on the board, but I must admit Donna would be my choice if we had a chance, if you were able to do that.
Well, I don't want to take it away from Tom if it's something he wants to do. So, is it
We
something that we have to do tonight, or should we talk
We
with him
would,
first?
we could, well, you really do need, I'd like to get it done because the officers all start January 1.
Right.
So, I think it's really up to you, as I said, he didn't express nothing to me, now he might have talked to
He
you.
hasn't spoken to me at
Um,
all
So,
on that.
I think it's your prerogative as the board.
You got a preference?
I would like to nominate Donna Rathman as vice chair.
Okay,
Second.
I'll do it. It's fine.
Okay, so Janet and Ira. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed and any abstentions? All right, now the board secretary is the executive director. So do I have a nomination for
I'll
secretary of the
nominate
board?
Miss Christine Hazard.
And we'll second that.
Very good.
Opposed.
I knew, I was waiting when you were gonna get to be trouble. Watch out, Christine. Okay, so Christine Hazard has been nominated as board secretary. Are there any other nominations? You don't have a choice. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Very good. You have your officers and your new executive director. So you're off.
Yes, indeed.
Good.
Review and approve the minutes from the meeting of October 28th and November 18th.
The November one, I would just make the correction of who's writing checks for December.
Oh,
Tom's listed and I'm doing it.
oh, okay, November,
Do I have January? Is that true? No,
this.
You had October.
I had October. Okay,
Okay, wait a minute, so
got it.
who's doing December?
I am,
Oh, Tom.
You are doing December, okay.
and
And
because he was gonna be gone.
okay, and Tom is doing January.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, great. But that's what the So
That's what the minutes
say, they say
say.
Donna October, Janet November, Liz December, and Tom in
The
January.
minutes for the December 16th meeting.
Oh,
No,
the
correct.
annual meeting.
The October 28th one is right.
Yes.
right? Yeah.
So I don't have it listed correctly on our agenda is the problem.
It's just on that web slot. Everything else is
February will be a problem for me, because I'll be away for the bank for a whole week,
Wow, okay,
and then I'll probably have a vacation week in there too.
all right.
But I could still do it if somebody just wanted to cover those two. I mean, we could like split it or something, like, you know.
We can talk about that in.
I just want you to
January
heads up.
meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Good.
Because I would be next in line, so.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, February.
Is Byron in the rotation as well?
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
okay, so he would have
He
to.
hasn't been yet.
The rotation for signing checks.
Unless Byron wants to do it in February, then I definitely can do March. Is that okay?
That's
Okay.
good.
Then we won't
I
have
don't
such a
know what it is
confusing,
I'm getting into, but
just sign, sign, sign.
Or ask questions if it seems
Yes,
appropriate.
you'll
Yes,
get
that's why
asked
we
into
do
the
that.
office
Yes.
Thursday afternoon, sometime on Friday.
Yes.
And you all have a stack of checks that goes either this high or this high.
Yeah, it depends on what time of the month it is.
Right.
That's right. And that's when you see all the invoices and the checks.
And I must say, they do a very fine job of attaching
Mm-hmm.
proof to each
Mhm.
of
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Resident and citizen participation, we have no residents.
No. No.
Business of resident interest, staff reports, property portfolio, property managers. And thank you for including this written history.
Oh, yeah, Harden had asked for it, and I
that's
thought,
wonderful, people.
That was very nicely done.
I thought I should put that in for
I
everyone.
like this, you know, because now I can go
Oh,
through
that's,
and
yeah,
Yes.
that's Christina,
Schedule.
so
Put it all
put everything on the
Mhm.
schedule.
do let her know right away if there's a time that is really bad, is where you know you're not gonna be around, because then she might be able to change it.
Well, I have right now a meeting date of March 23rd when I will be away.
Okay.
But we have a new vice chair
Yeah.
who will lead the meeting.
Okay, you better be doing some training.
Yes.
All right.
The property management update. Looked incredibly yellow.
Yellow, right?
The question on the general update, that have a lot of 0, 1-bedroom vacancies and sent out over 50 long applications with minimal response. Is that because they are so small apartments, or what is the?
What I have heard from the property managers is that we are having some problems filling the high-rise, which has really never happened before, but there's just that sense of that part of town and being undesirable. And they're getting a lot of people that just don't want to take units there. So we've always, Hayes Court second floor efficiencies have always been tougher
I know
to
they
fill.
have, yes.
You know, a second floor efficiency, no elevators. But this is the first time we've ever had issues with the high rise, and people just are a little leery of going there. So. We also did not, what's called purge the list recently, in the last year or so, and that's when it's a very big process for us because of the Mantor lawsuit. So, but we have to go through and notify everybody on the list and go through this process to see, do you want to be on the list? If they write us back and they don't, then we have to go. It's a big deal, and we didn't do that last year. So we actually said, well, Courtney and Jen felt like this was the way they were gonna purge the list. They knew that this would do it, so they're sort of doing the purging of the list at the same time they're trying to get lease-ups.
Now, how do we, like, is it a good idea to advertise? Do we advertise? How do we get the word out that we've got vacancies?
Well, I will check in with Courtney. We have a list of all of the suspects in town, so all the community service agencies, everybody. And we should do up like a little ad and send it to all of them saying that we have these openings. Now, the tough thing is they know that we have a very long waiting list. So if somebody comes in and signs up today, there's no guarantee that they're gonna be getting on that list in the next 6 months. In fact, it'll probably be 12 months. So that sort of works against us.
You have a long waiting list for vouchers, but a shortage of applicants for apartments?
No, this is for the apartments, and we have very long lists, and we have to go through the list to get, so somebody that applies for today is behind, I think, what did I just did it, we had 175 people from out of the area and another, I think 200 that were in our service area on that list, and I think the one at the top was from 2016, I think, or 2017.
And people from that list they don't wanna
Right.
live there?
Yeah, so
So
they'll
you
do
go
us
down to the
down.
list and they're like, no,
Yeah.
we
Or
don't
we
want
don't
that.
get a response,
Or we
which is
don't get a
then
response.
puts us in a
Oh.
situation where we have to do follow-up, because we can't just say, oh, well, we didn't get a response,
Oh,
so
good.
we have to follow up, we have to send to their next, their.
The person they give us.
The person
Yes.
contact, so it just takes time, so sometimes if we send out 50 applications, we get a bunch back right away, and that's a great sign, because that means we can start the processing, but if we're not getting as many back, we still have to go through the process of sending them and taking time before we send out the other 50.
Yeah,
It just,
and because our list is so long, we really are looking at people that applied in 16 or 17, and, you know, many of
Lives
them
may have changed.
have moved on, gotten
Right.
places, and, you know, they don't care, our mail comes and they ditch it,
Wow.
you know, I would. And so then we have to do all this follow-up and all this stuff, it's just, it makes it very
Yeah,
laborious.
very
But-
labor
And you
intensive.
can always sort of do that one at a time?
We do them in batches, so we'll take a whole batch of people.
Okay.
On this one, they said they had taken 50. So you can take you have to take from the top, you can take 50, send them all out. And
Yeah.
then it's just whoever gets their stuff back is the person that you start processing. After, it's not like we have to wait and completely finish number one, and then completely finish
Yeah,
number two.
yeah.
Send them out to 50 people, and then you just take them as they come back. But the ones that don't respond, then you have to send out more mailings and stuff, so.
What's the average size of a one-bedroom apartment?
About, I'm just trying to think, 450, 500 square
yeah,
feet?
and then the studio is probably, the zero is, like a studio, I think it's around 3.
I think it's
Something,
three.
3 and change.
So one bedroom is about 400.
Yeah, yeah. And Red Clover is 550, so.
Those are good
Change.
size, Red Clover's, that's a good size one bedroom.
Yeah.
Rent receipts?
Yes, yes, people in legal. I do want to note the inspections. We have lots of inspections. The fire department inspected, Housing Vermont inspected, and then because of RAD, we have a contract with the Springfield Housing Authority, and they came down and did the HQS inspections of the 4 properties that went into RAD, so 203 units. And they came two folks from Springfield came for a day and a half,
Mhm.
and they got them all done, it was great.
And because HQS doesn't mean anything,
Sorry. Housing quality standards, it's
Thank
the
you.
section 8 inspection protocol.
and RAD is rental assistance demonstration
Demonstration.
project.
I can't never remember all these.
Well,
I know.
that's why I tend to do that.
Yeah.
As inspections go, the housing quality standards are pretty simple.
They're pretty straightforward, yeah. Though we did have a couple people fail. Not our part of the apartment didn't fail, but they
Their
were
part.
the tenant failed.
What is the process of correction?
When it's a tenant caused, or landlord, they are given 30 days to make to take the corrective action. If it's the tenant, they risk us suspending the aid for them, which is serious. And if it's the landlord, we will do the same with them. We'll stop paying them. So that's the carrot there is, you're not gonna get paid.
And those are for section 8, because we're the landlord in the public housing.
Well, it's the same now for RAD.
Ah, okay,
It's the
so we're the
same,
landlord.
because we are the
Okay,
we're the contract administrator for the contract on the RAD properties. So it's the same,
so it's taking something, rethinking of the language of who we are because of the rental assistance
Right.
demonstration project.
mm-hmm,
Very helpful.
mm-hmm.
Right. We've commented that the collection is down in Ledgewood and Moorcourt
Mhm.
due to a fewer residents and litigation. Where do those things stand?
I believe Courtney went to court last week and is going to court again this week. So we had one that paid up, probably this doesn't reflect that, paid up in December. We had a bunch that were going to court and, good, a fair number of them paid up. So that would be reflected in your December. But this also is a very, difficult time
Sure.
for rent payment. This is when it's the holidays and people sort of see their tax refund on the horizon. So that can sort of cause some issues.
Mhm.
Yeah, back to school, it starts as, back to school, and then
Yep.
it goes into Halloween, and then at Christmas, it's really the big, the holiday season. And so we did have a few families get to a zero balance, which is the first time we've seen a zero balance for them for a very long time. And so that was really wonderful, but I think it was the first time, they had incurred some legal costs because of it, which is really too bad, because now they have to pay the legal costs, so it's very challenging for some of our folks.
Then FSS, Resident Service Coordinator.
Mhm.
This is the orange. I don't know who's choosing the colors of your paper. It's quite wonderful.
So we have a lot of changes. My role is changing, and we're in the process of moving some staff around, and potentially making our one of our staff coordinators that's part-time a full-time coordinator as of the year. So, but we're still ironing out all the details. So there's going to be some internal shifting that you will hear more about in the next few months. But last month, I would say probably it was all hands on deck for RAD. We had a lot of staff supporting the property management and getting all the lease signed, and we had events at every housing site in the evening, in the daytime. We had staff going out to people's apartments, knocking on doors, and just to get everybody signed up. So it just took a lot of manpower, and everybody was all hands on deck. So that was primarily what we were focused on. The only other thing I really wanted to make note of is that the SASH program it's really exciting. We are partnering. We got a little bit of money from the Department of Health to partner with Hotel Pharmacy for a pilot project to work with Hotel Pharmacy to support our participants around hypertension and med management. So that will start in January. So that's very exciting.
Cool.
And it will run for 25 weeks.
Good.
That's great.
So I just want to make a note about the all hands on deck for RED. It really was very impressive. Everybody, everybody had to help. And if they weren't, out tracking people down with their leases and this and that, then they were doing somebody else's job because that person was running around. But it was really quite something. And I think it happened very quickly. Once we got the paperwork into HUD in Washington, it just seemed to just go very, very quickly. And it's funny, I was looking and I started the RAD process a year ago, February. And I mean, it'd just been going on and on and on. But once we really got into it, and then once our documents were approved, boy, that closing went just like zoom, and we were closed. And we were closed before Pat could even get to the town clerks. I mean, HUD just was like, all right, they're done. Which meant then, all of a sudden, we had the handbook, we had the lease, we had, all the stuff, and we had to get it out and have meetings with the residents, and the staff was just fabulous. Just really, really thankful. They were great. Just everybody just dropped whatever else they were doing and helped get the paperwork done. And Courtney really worked her little typing fingers off to get all of the changes made, which were huge changes in our computer system, to move all of our property and all of our residents from one place, public housing, to this new place with our computer company. And she did a great job, but she worked almost 24/7 for a week to get it done.
Over Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, over Thanksgiving, and Christine and I were like, take Wednesday off, and so she said, I'm taking Wednesday off. She worked the whole day from home. I mean, it was just, she really did just an absolutely awesome job of getting people moved over, and it was not easy. And she was on the phone with the computer people and really established great relationships with them, and it just really went well, but it was a lot of work. Lots of work.
It's a lot of trouble you caused.
I know. And that's why Christine is like, we're not doing anything in 2020. Everybody's gonna like me so much.
No new projects. My fear is that, January 2nd, we're gonna get the notice for moving to work,
Yeah.
and we're gonna get approved, so.
She's like,
Which would be a mixed blessing, yeah.
everybody's gonna really like me because I'm just gonna let them do their jobs.
Sure, we'll have lots of projects.
Yeah, it was really.
Well, I'm noting on your report, the Wellness and Supportive Services Group meeting, the property managers and support staff, but they're also looking at the community room improvements and assisting residents with BHP forms.
Yes.
And besides the delinquent rent payments. So that, what are you looking at for community room improvements?
Well, we have been talking about it for some time, and we did have some money that we have allocated specifically for community rooms, starting with the flooring. And so we've already started at we started at the Melrose Terrace office primarily because we're making that old community room space into offices.
Okay.
So we started there, but we will be working on the community rooms and starting with the flooring. So Jack is working on that, which is great. And then the staff is also, we've started a component, I don't know if it's in the report, where every meeting, when we meet once a week, we take 10 minutes to talk about staff wellness and how to do staff wellness improvements.
Excellent.
And one thing that's come out of it has been that they said, well, you know, our office, we don't like our office bathrooms. You know, it's the one space we go to be alone, and they're depressing. And so we started talking about what it would look like to have the office bathrooms just spruce up a little. And so it's interesting. That's not what I was thinking. When we started talking about employee wellness, I thought they would say, well, we need more time off, or we need, you know, mental health breaks, or we need masseuse. I don't know. I didn't know what they were gonna say. And for them to say, well, you know, we'd like to really spruce up these spaces, it wasn't something that had ever occurred to me. And so we're just trying to keep that on the radar, even though money is tight, looking at ways to improve these little spaces in a way that's effective.
Yeah.
Are these things that you do in-house?
Some of them, the flooring, we hired a contractor.
We had to hire
We had
out.
to hire a contractor.
We bought it, but we had to hire it out.
Mhm.
It was a little technical, so we didn't want to. They've spent 2 days tearing up the floor and then putting a new one down, and that would have taken our maintenance. It would have taken all the maintenance we had. But that's great. I'd love to get those bathrooms fixed up. So what we did was, as part of RAD, I went back through and looked at our capital funds for 2015, 16, and 17. And the 2015 we pretty much finished, but 2016 I was finally able to get a handle on that one. It was really tough. But I did, and I was able to resubmit it so that we could take a nice amount of money. It's not huge, but it can do some work, and allocate it just to community rooms. So we were able to do that and get it approved through all the channels and all the paperwork in, and that was great, because it's something that the residents really, really wanted and frankly really needed. Those ones were terrible.
Under RAD, will that kind of approval be required? for
No, but we
activity?
also won't get it. The capital fund goes away.
Okay, well, that's the carrot and the stick.
Yes, the capital fund goes away, but what we have in its place is that we have and direct allocation to replacement reserves, capital reserves, and then a yearly amount that we put in, which is sizable, it's about $146,000, that has to go into replacement reserves. And we have the 20-year chart of replacement reserves. So there is a plan there. What we can do is we have to do the plan for this year, for 2020, that's mandatory. But after that, we can take a look at our capital needs and see if maybe we want to do a bigger project and go after some 4% low-income housing tax credits, let's say, and do a deep energy renovation in 1 or 2 places, and go after energy efficiency money and some LIHTC. And you know, we have to juggle what we have in the capital plan for 20 years, but doing deep energy improvements would certainly, you know, be great, and would probably take out some of the stuff that's already in that plan. So that's the kind of stuff you can do once you get through that first year and you've done your major commitments in terms of capital improvement.
What funds did you say there are no more?
We have always received the capital, money from the capital fund program. It's never enough, but we've always received it. And that goes away when you go into RAD. So we do not get capital fund money anymore.
I may be misconstruing things, but I was understanding that under RAD, we could use the values of buildings that we have as opposed to borrow against that to work, which
Yeah.
we were not able to before.
Absolutely. absolutely.
so that we have a little more flexibility on how we use the values that we have in the housing.
Absolutely. And we don't have to go to HUD to ask them, Mother, may I change out a bathroom, may I
Yeah, that's-
change these
yeah.
sidewalks, may I,
Mhm.
we can just make a plan and do them.
That's wonderful.
So,
Yes.
but we can, yes, as part of the financing, we can look at, is there debt that we could carry on the buildings? And then go to the bank and see if they would be interested in investing.
Because I thought that was the way I understood it, I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, yes, yeah. And according to one of the consultants that we worked with, if our budget is as good as he thought it was, we're in pretty good shape to go after a 4% LIHTC and take out a small mortgage on the property. And we could do that,
It'd be exciting to
so.
up that as we can.
You'll get into development yet.
Meanwhile, you're hanging around.
Yes. Meanwhile, I'll hang on. I'll be putting little notes under her door. Capital improvements. Energy efficiency.
Well, meanwhile, this nice Sasquatch newsletter.
Yep.
Oh, these are always my favorite.
Yes, they really are. How was the movie matinee attended on the 13th?
I think it was pretty good. Shauna hosted it, and I think they did pretty well. I think they had fun. Yeah, she's really building up participation at Hayes Court.
That's wonderful.
You know, Red Clover is easy.
Mm-hmm.
They just come. But Hayes Court takes a little bit more because their community room is set off. It's not part of any of the buildings. And so in the winter it can be hard, but she has worked really hard at that. And Lorelei as well at the Samuel LA Apartments has done a fabulous job at cultivating community and improving the community there.
Okay. The blue housing choice voucher, show the trust here. I went through this so long ago, I was looking at my notes and there's the saying, was this included? No, it was notes that I had taken when I went. But I wanted to start with the section 8. 135 vouchers leased and have 2 searching. And we have 6 new program participants at the snow block on Flat Street. As of the 1st of December, are people moved in yet there?
I believe they are.
That's my
I
understanding.
believe they are,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Sorry, but could you explain PBV, HCV, TBV?
Project
HCV,
based
that's
voucher.
the Housing Choice Voucher Program and the Project-Based Voucher
Oh, okay.
and the Housing Assistance Program contract. These are when we take our tenant-based vouchers and project-base them in, usually in Windsor properties. So it really helps with their operations and it helps with their funding. So they'll have 6 vouchers in the building that will stay with the building.
In other words, the person living in that apartment can't take that voucher
Right.
and move elsewhere with it.
Right.
So
Right.
that's very helpful.
Yeah, so we have some in upper story, now the snow block, and we're supporting the youth program with a couple of them, where we put a preference in for youth, so they could get the vouchers. We've got a cap on how many of our tenant-based vouchers we can convert, so we've got to watch that cap, and we've also got to make sure that we have enough for, down the road for when we open up Red Clover 2. Because we'll put our project-based vouchers in that building as well.
Is that building the units that are gonna be in there, like already spoken for and predetermined?
No, we'll have 18, and we'll do it much, I think we'll handle it very similar to the first round at Red Clover, where we'll offer them to the people that are at Melrose based on seniority. Their options will also be to go to other public housing or to take a tenant protection voucher and move out into the community, which I think the group that we have is more likely to do that because they, in particular, some of them are pretty serious cigarette smokers, and it's hard to go into any congregate setting now that is not smoke-free. So you're better taking your, and we'll help them with the search, we'll help them move, we'll do all of that. So I think that we'll have a handful of people that'll wanna go with their 10-based voucher.
One of my notes, Shelter Plus Care, was questioning how the coordinated entry for renting is work. The last sentence, he's still continue to get periodic support from groundwork staff, but his departure from the program will allow us to add another homeless disabled applicant via a coordinated entry.
So coordinated entry is, it's working okay, it's not great, it can be slow, it can take a long time to get somebody. It's based on the HUD definition of homelessness, which means that it's based on how long you've been homeless. So that's why we had to put a preference in at the snow block so that homeless youth could get a voucher because they haven't been homeless very long. So there are just some things about it that are a little clunky for, not just for us, but for the whole state of Vermont. And Wyndham Windsor has a group of housing and social service providers that have been looking at the whole homeless continuum, and coordinated entry is part of that. And it's interesting, and the state did a big study this year. And I think everybody's finding that it's well intended, but it's sort of clunky. It's not a fast mechanism.
My understanding was that everybody had to go through groundworks as the coordinated entry.
Right, they are.
Rather than having multiple doors.
Right. So you can, if you come to our office, what will happen is that we will refer you, and we won't do the intake. There are some other service providers that can do intake and then pass that intake to groundworks, but we don't do intake, but we do make sure that anybody that comes that's homeless, we get their name, we get a contact, and we get them on the list so that then they can get into the process.
And lastly, transitions to housing. I found myself underlining kudos to Mr. Josh Dillingham, local landlord extraordinaire.
Yes.
Yeah,
Of the dogs.
yeah.
Yes.
And again, that's also kudos to David DeAngelis. I mean, people will do these things because they know David will help.
Good.
So.
The update on the rental assistance demonstration project, right?
I think we did it
I think
already.
we did, yes, we did.
We gave you the update
Yep.
on that, so.
Financial review?
We don't, it was, in January, we'll bring in the RAD budget. Christine will bring you the RAD budget. Now that we have one in place.
And you have corrected the check signing.
Yes, I have, yeah. Okay. We would ask that you approve the increase in the credit limit for Christine Hazard to $5,000 What happens with the executive director's card is that there are some people that don't have cards. A good example is when we went to Rutland, we took about 5 staff people to Rutland for RAD training. I paid for everything, for all 5 of them. So that was a big hit to my credit card. When Christine and I went to Washington for the moving to work, I put all the plane tickets, the hotel, everything was on my card. So we want the executive director to be able to have a higher limit, not because she's gonna go out and buy something that's $5,000, but just invariably, that's the card that gets snagged,
Happens to me too.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So-
also as the second in line, so things like our, we have a online security, to send secure emails, and there's a $500
Yeah.
monthly fee, or not monthly, yearly fee, and it was always on my credit card, and then I went to a training and I just couldn't pay, I only had a $1,500 limit, so it was like, I didn't have it, so I realized like this past month, because I had to go to a big training and we had some other expenses, I was like, how much do you have on your credit card, because I don't have enough for anything, to do anything, and so we had hoped that.
And payments don't always get there in a timely fashion in the manner to clean it up before you need it again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Carol will jump in there if you need her to. I mean, she has done that for
Yeah.
us, but yeah, we don't want to have to always be
Do
sure.
we need a motion?
Yes, we do.
I'd be like,
Liz, all right,
I'll second it.
okay. All those in favor, please say
Aye.
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 Okay.
No?
Good, thank you very much, that will be
Yeah, thank you.
very helpful.
The annual holiday luncheon will be this Friday at noon at the
Yeah,
marina.
can you all make it? Good,
Yes.
good, and we do a Yankee swap, you do not have to participate, but.
But it is fun.
It is fun,
We do not what?
you do not have to participate.
Well, there's a limit of $15.
$15 on the gift,
In the
and you don't have to do it if you don't
And
want to.
forgive my ignorance, explain Yankee swap.
I can't remember. So everybody brings a present, and then when you come in, we'll figure out how many people came with a present, and then we'll have a number in a Santa hat for the number of people who brought a present, and then everyone will pick a number. And then the person who gets number 1 picks first, and they pick whatever present they want, and they unwrap it, and then 2 goes, and now 2 can either steal that person's present
Yeah.
if they want to, or they can unwrap a present themselves. They can't unwrap a present and then steal it. They have to pick one or the other. And then at the end, so let's say there's 14 people, 14 will go, they'll be last, but then 1 gets to go again. So 1 is the best number to get.
And you're gonna write out the instructions.
I will, we'll write out the
Because there's
instructions.
always an argument
Yeah,
over
there's
the
always- I
instructions,
know,
'cause you can
every
play
year.
this a million different
Yeah.
ways.
Right, there are different.
There are
versions.
always arguments over the instructions. So,
See it deteriorating.
oh, it does, it's great fun.
Yeah.
Thinking of language, they don't steal it, they swap it.
Right, yes, yes.
Yeah, they
Right.
still it.
Yes.
They don't steal it, they swap it.
Well, it is fun, yeah,
Good.
yeah, so,
Okay,
right.
I'm
good.
delighted that you're all going to be.
Yeah, that's great.
Large projects in progress.
FEMA, we've gotten the 4 buildings down. Very happy to say that they came in under budget, so we're going to look at some of the other expenses that we've had on the Melrose project and be able to charge them to the CDBG grant, which is great. So don't get too excited, those buildings we left the slabs down, so I think had we pulled the slabs up, it would have been more. But anyhow, it's done, the buildings are done.
The slabs will stay.
No, the slabs will go, yeah, they have to go. RCC permitting, funding, design, we're deep into that. We did get our town development review board approval, though it is in that 30-day process. And the big news for today is that we got our, and I won't use any of the letters, we got our affordable housing program funding from the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston. It's a highly competitive program, and we got $405,000.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
So it was very exciting,
Yeah.
yes, thank you. We're very, very exciting. And Housing Vermont was very involved in that. They did a lot of heavy lifting on that application.
Does that mean we have all of the funding we need for Brattleboro too?
Well, we do if two pieces come that we are anticipating. One is our tax credits from the Vermont Housing Finance Agency. And the other is the rest of our funding from the Vermont Housing Conservation Board. That's been on hold for a couple of things. The environmental, they wanted to see our audit from this year, which I just signed off on some of the paperwork today. So we're pretty sure we'll get that. And you know, the tax credits are always very, very competitive. We went last year, we did not get them. There were some people that were really pretty worried. It was great for us because the building was right near a river. It was raining like crazy and the water was rising. And I said, look outside. That's what happens to us whenever it rains too much. You know, we're all sitting there on needles. And people were very, you know, they really were, they got it. And to the credit of all the people in Vermont that does this work, nobody wants to forget Melrose. They want to get it done. You know, and there's still a sense of, you know, I was worried, oh my gosh, it's like 10 years later. But they understand how important it is to really get it done. And so I'm, you know, as optimistic as I'll allow myself to be, that we will get that. And we will go back to them in April and here in June, and then we'll be all ready to start. So, and we have also, on another front, submitted our Act 250 amendment, and that has been posted. And we are almost complete with our environmental review, which was more complicated because that was such a big brownfield and, you know, blah, blah. So, it's looking good.
Moving to work?
We remain in the lottery, not a word. And I just was visiting with the HIG folks that really, you know, are on top of this stuff, and they said not a word, not a word. And one theory, and I think it's a good one, is that they didn't get enough good applicants. And they didn't get applicants from places that they wanted. And they sort of don't know what to do. I mean, they said they were gonna do this lottery, and then, you know, we were in with a group of 11, and so we had a 50, you know, basically a 50-50 chance. And in that group, there were very, very few applications from New York State, which is one of the states that they really want to get the program into. So, you know, they could have drawn the lottery and gotten nothing. It picked none of the housing authorities in New York, and then, you know, it's like, not what they want. So, I don't know what they're gonna do, but there is it.
What's moving to work?
Oh, what is moving to work? You want to talk about moving to work?
Sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So Moving to Work is a program that's designed through HUD to essentially pull people out of public housing, but also so it'll be a new model, and it's a way that you can design your program to meet the needs specifically of your community. And so you get a lot more flexibility in the way that you design your program. And so the reason we wanted to go to Moving to Work was because we wanted to look at what our community's needs were, and to figure out if people wanted housing for homeless youth or kids getting out of the foster care system. I'm not saying this is what we've decided on, but these were just ideas. And so to look at a way of developing a housing program that meets the needs of the community, and then you measure what your impact is. So you create a program, and then you create how to measure the program. and you report that way. So it's a different way of reporting to HUD than under public housing. Now, we've already gone to RAD, so we've already separated ourselves a little bit. We have a little bit more flexibility in some areas, and that was really more financial. This would be more social service.
So moving to work does not mean employment.
No, it's an old name that does not imply that we want our residents to all go to work. It is just, it's an old name, and we would come up with a new name. We wouldn't even describe ourselves as moving to work agency, we would come up with something else, and we've already brainstormed about it.
Yeah, which is what most agencies do.
So Keene is a moving to work agency, and they've started projects with youth and different programs, and so it would allow us some flexibility with our funding to create new social service programs and just new programs in general, just to be a little bit more deliberate about how we meet the community's needs. And in our application process, we talked to a lot of community. We held, Chris held multiple public forums, and we talked about this, and we had to get the community's buy-in. And people were very excited about it, because for the first time, public housing has been really, had this very narrow way of working. And so Chris really started to say, we want to change that. And two ways we wanted to change it was RAD and moving to work. We didn't know which one was going to come first. So we just started working on both. And we got RAD first. But it was a way of really adjusting the work that we do to really directly impact our community in a positive way.
They're very.
Does the board get copies of proposals?
Oh, the board's very involved in this. Oh, yeah, the board has to be very involved in it.
Could I get
Yeah.
a copy of that one?
Do you want a copy of our application? I mean, it doesn't say that much, but I can certainly send it out to everybody. It's been a while, so I'm happy to do it. But for instance, one of the things that we could do is at Hayes Court, we could take a whole building there and enter into a really good MOU with a service agency. Memorandum of understanding.
Yeah.
And say, this building is going to serve single mothers with children. And this agency is gonna master lease the building from us and they're gonna make sure the rent's paid, and then they're gonna use it for that program. And they have programs all over the state of Alaska, because they're a moving to work state. And this woman flies from place to place where they have incredible programs going on, where they've done that. You could take a whole building and say, one of the things we need is short-term mental health beds. I don't know that we could provide that anywhere, but that's a real need in this community, really needed. Is there a way? We would have the ability to ask the question.
And collaboration often with
Yeah.
some other.
Yeah,
Great.
And as I hear your description, we don't have to be the agency providing the program.
No.
We contract with another agency to provide the program, we provide the container for the program.
That's it, exactly.
That's perfect.
That's it, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
So it's very exciting. I mean, it's a great program, and you can do different things. And when it started, Byron, it started about 20 years ago. Very small pilot. I think they had 13 agencies out of over 3,000, and Keene was a pioneer. And it was during a regime or a president's tenure that said everything had to be moving to work, had to say something about people going to work, so that's how the name got in there. And
that makes it confusing.
and it is so far from that. I mean, but it does do that. I mean, I can go on and on. There's so many great examples. I mean, San Antonio did this whole neighborhood where they built lofts, and the first floor was for a craftsperson, a painter, a potter, whatever you want, and then the upstairs was where they could live.
Wow.
Wow.
And they project-based the whole thing. So it's just this huge, and it's lots of units. And It didn't take off at first, so they made some changes to it, and now it's a huge, vibrant, artistic community, and just amazing. So you can do that kind of stuff. You know, that was amazing. So I will send you the application, and I'll send you, the Housing Authority Insurance Group that I'm connected to has put out some really excellent, one really, really good report that I'll send you all, because there's tons of stuff written, but this is a very good one, and it really, you'll get a sense of what it is. Christine and I went to their, they have an annual meeting, it's in April, in DC, and your head is just spinning when you leave. It's so exciting. It's gotta be a gathering of the most creative, innovative housers you could ever wish to be with. I mean, they're just, isn't it? I mean, it's just, it's just amazing what these folks are doing. So cool. So anyhow, that's what we'd like to do.
Thank you.
We'll see.
So we're waiting very patiently to hear. Although I'm not rushing it because I think the staff would.
Yeah, right now they need a break.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, that was what was promised, nothing new for the next year,
Right.
until it happens.
Except NTW again.
Right.
We'll accept.
Is there any other business?
Yes, I would like an executive session to discuss personnel matter.
Be happy to. Do I hear a motion?
So,
Go into executive session,
Oh.
okay?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And we'll say